Good afternoon. 7 Media channel is on. Many of our subscribers complain that they feel stress because of the visits to their organizations by the employees of so-called taxing militia. And who are they in fact? State officials, phantoms of our authority induced by marasm or real structure that is called to implement a law activity and to investigate businesses in the domain of taxes and tax collections. Let's get it straight.
Open, it is tax militia. Who? Tax militia. And on what ground? It does not exist. How is it? On the grounds of tax code of Ukraine. I brought you summons. Idiocy, isn't it?
I am businessman and the director of the company which is registered in Dnipropetrovsk region. I want to tell about methods of work, of how taxing militia in Dnipropetrovsk area works. I would not say that it is militia. It is kind of organized criminal group. As my attorneys consider now, they are acting out of the law. They engage in protection from cashing out, protection of business from cashing, protection of business away from themselves. The chief of this service is Penkov Sergei. They promised to deliver good, but as a result we see who was delivered. Here this person really is purely the organizer of all cashing out movements in our city. He created this department. I think it consists of 10 people. They take those offices, in protection of which they were engaged. They know all volumes and turnovers, using the base of majestic fiscal service. They well turnovers of these enterprises, with whom they work and how they work and on what conditions. Present them the requirement about payment of some additional bribe. If the client refuses, they set off the criminal production, which has nothing to do with costumer, or they take already existing criminal production using vessels. One's communications in the office of public prosecutor of Dnipropetrovsk area, in the offices of public prosecutor of other areas. They receive through courts or judges affiliated to those offices of public prosecutor. I cannot say accurately. Definition of vessels of execution of searches. On searches equipment is withdrawn. On searches they are withdrawn of monetary resource. On searches all is withdrawn that is of value. For that it is possible then to blackmail businessmen, at which all of this is being taken. This company came to my office and picked up the cash of the facility from the purses of the employees, cash money from cash department, arrested my accounts, and then I had to prove that it is of monetary resource to payment of wages to the employees and etc. I declare about it openly, well, because I know that as collections to budget would be more and in total everything would be more if taxing militia executed exactly its function. Instead of what they do, they are engaged in a personal enrichment. They do so, force me to go to them and agree on paying them. I consider, and all my colleagues businessmen consider, that by the main purpose at command, I would say not a taxing militia, it is organized criminal group. The main purpose at them is not receipt of lawful benefit, but receipt of the tribute, receipt of money, only because they exist, instead of because they execute some their functions.
It is uniform outrage. To make out this situation, let's take our case to current legislation of Ukraine.
With entering into force January 1, 2017 by the law of Ukraine of modifying to tax code of Ukraine regarding improvement of investment Ukraine climate from December 21, 2016 number 1797-8, which from tax code of Ukraine Chapter 18 Part 2 taxing militia is excluded, that is, taxing militia is deficient of any authorities. It in spite of the fact that February 23, 2017 on the meeting of Parliament of Ukraine, during voting for changes to tax code of Ukraine pursuant to bill of modifying to tax code of Ukraine, regarding heritage taxation, number 0940 from November 27, 2014. That is, the lawmaker in February 2017 confirmed once again that there was no error at modifying the tax code in December 2016. Taxing militia is deficient of authorities, and such authorities the Parliament of Ukraine it is not going to return, and information on the site of State Fiscal Service, rather absence of any says about it as well, mentioning such structural division.
Interesting what the workers of taxing will say about it. Let's ask in headquarters of State Fiscal Service in Dnipropetrovsk area. You want to communicate with the Chief of Taxing Militia? It is possible to talk to Assistant of Chief. Okay, I got it. Wait a minute.
Unfortunately, nobody from Taxing Militia wanted to communicate with us, but the press of this service were interested in us and they offered us to write inquiry, to which they will answer in the near future. Well, near future meant 5 days and they would tell us if interview will be or not, but we didn't have an answer. And until we have just the Taxing Militia cannot neither confirm, nor refute the fact of its legitimacy. And now we will try to receive answers in the Office of Public Prosecutor of Dnipropetrovsk area. Indeed, exactly here is department that is in charge of observance of laws by the units in the domain of taxes and tax collections. Here we also were directed to press service. It is interesting how press service will react to our inquiry, and whether it will be possible for us to receive interview from the public prosecutor of the area.
Good afternoon. You are disturbed by the press service of the Office of Public Prosecutor of Dnipropetrovsk area. Look, any question which you indicate in your inquiry is related to the unit's competence of the Office of Public Prosecutor. You ask if such organization as Taxing Militia exists or not. The fact is that and you and I and any citizen of Ukraine can look up current legislation and to understand police exists or not. Unfortunately, we are not authorized to give you such commentaries. I mean that it entirely does not relate to the unit's competence of the Office of Public Prosecutor. To date, the Office of Public Prosecutor fails supervision basically. The soul of what can the matter is in given context. This remedial administration takes place in some one particular criminal production. It is not supervision in the common. If it is a question of the fact of crime performing, the fact is that it is basically not our competence. You should approach taxing more accurate to fiscal service, if you are interested in the questions for the occasion of their authorities. And let's pay a visit now to court. To that unit of our legal system which makes the main decisions on criminal factories. Is there nowadays such an organization as tax militia? In our opinion, yes, exists. I cannot say of its authorities. It is determined by their inside law. Honestly, I didn't study their law. When questions for the occasion of taxing militia arise, some remedial moments, we solve the problem. They have authorities to treat one or another requests to court, and whether right has court to consider them according to the norms of criminal remedial code. To date, answer to your question rather is in the law. It is necessary to raise and to look up. I know that it did not enter validity, and he is not excluded. There is law about improvement of investment climate was accepted, and that law section 18 part 2 was excluded, about which you say. But this section did not enter validity, because there is a reservation that he enters validity since the beginning of activity of a new unit which investigates taxing crimes. I do not remember, as it is named in the project. To date, this section is not excluded, and to court requests of taxing authority arrive, and the court considers them. I cannot say you what decisions are accepted. I know that decisions are accepted by investigation judges. I am not investigation judge and did not accept any decision on it. You stated your opinion. I answered you on ground of what decisions are made and why it is considered that they exist. I have already given explanations. Thank you.
Well, as we see, court supports so-called taxing militia, allowing thereby to commit one's lawless actions. So, today we have collision in the legislation of status of taxing militia in Ukraine. De jure, it is eliminated. De facto, continues one's activity, illegally influencing businessmen. In Uniform State Register of Judgments already there are a few resolutions of investigation judges, in which are established fact of absence of authorities at the investigators of taxing militia. Following from it, in the case of reference taxing militia, you can ignore requirements of its officials, referring to present judiciary practice, in which the court agrees actually that from January 1, 2017 at investigation divisions of taxing militia authorities are absent.
From here there is quite logic conclusion that similar visits of taxing militia are illegal and without reasons, and they have by their purpose just to force to pay the money of businessmen who by virtue of their legal illiteracy nothing know of similar changes in the legislation and, as investigation, status of taxing militia indeed only, card with terrible words taxing militia businessmen to execute any requirements of these speculators, for on other it is impossible to name them, and, if to summarize all said above, any activity of taxing militia in Ukraine in her all kinds is illegal, and if somebody presented as an employee of taxing militia come to your home call police and detain this swindler. So nevertheless who are you? Well, I don't even know now. And what should I do to you? Is it possible for me to go home? Go. Why not? If you met with similar marasm and you do not know how to act, use our recommendations. Call up, write to our editing. Together we will stop flow of speculators from state structures.